2007's Ratatouille, directed by Brad Bird, featuring Patton Oswalt as the voice of the rat. And this movie, summary on IMDb, a rat who can cook makes an unusual alliance with a young kitchen worker at a famous restaurant. Very high level summary, but basically the premise of this film is, there's a rat who loves to cook, even though everyone in his rat family looks upon food as only something it's only for sustenance. All you need is food is just food to eat, and that's it. He sees food more of this art form and wants to express that as a chef. So for me, I think there's a couple messages in this film that really spoke to me when I saw it. The first one is the main message, I think, or the main takeaway of this film is the restaurant that the rat and then his friend Alfredo work in. The chef who founded that restaurant, his slogan or catchphrase or whatever we want to say was anyone can cook. That was what the ethos that he had was. And for me, I had always, I guess, put on a pedestal these, like, this is a French restaurant too, I should say. French cuisine is also looked upon as like perhaps the most snooty or highest form of, these foodies. Oh, everyone loves French food, but if you don't understand it, you're looked down upon. So that message of, okay, well, if anyone can cook, it really makes it approachable. This cuisine, which again, I was not exposed to at all, French cuisine growing up. And it's only actually something even in recent years that I've grown to appreciate. I still find it sometimes difficult to get into French food. So that message really spoke to me, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, so that is something maybe I should not just look, in a way I was looking down upon, I guess, the snooty people for being snooty, which was my own judgment I was putting on them. So, you know what, French cuisine, forget about it. It's too, highfalutin. And this movie, I think, helped me understand that, like, no, like it's not about that. It's not about putting it on a pedestal or making food too precious. It's about just expressing yourself as a chef and as an artist in this way through the food. And then the second thing that really resonated with me a lot, and still the scene that plays back in my head frequently, as well, is there's a other character who's a critic, who's a food critic, who's really very snooty. He's the representation, I guess, of a self-important foodie. And there's the final scene in the film is he gets served at this restaurant a dish that is also it's an interpretation of Ratatouille, which is a French dish, but it's a French peasant dish. It's not seen as something that is a highfalutin dish that's really hard to make, but it's a very, very simple dish. And he takes a bite of it, expecting probably to not like it and to give the restaurant a bad review. And there's it's an instant flashback to him as a child, walking into a cottage. His mother's there cooking, making that ratatouille. And it's really very short scene, like maybe 5 or 7 seconds of this flashback. And you get the sense that the food is transporting him back to that moment, and having that memory of his mother is what that food is doing to him. And I guess I had never really looked at food as art before. And art is something I feel that, yes, the artist has an intent that he or she is expressing themselves in a certain way to say something. But as the consumer of the art, whether you're seeing a film or looking at a painting, or listening to music, you put your own, like, you're impacted by that in a very personal way. The filmmaker might have been trying to say something in the movie, but you interpret that your own way, and you have your own personal interpretation. And I never really looked at food like that, or that it could do that it could be that expression of not only the chef's personality, but also a reflection of your own in a way when you're eating it. Mm-hmm. And I've gone through a lot of those moments now of, thinking back to memories and having food be connected to those memories, different people, experiences that I've had. For example, like that pasta dish that I mentioned I had last night that was so great. It helped me flash back to a moment of being in Italy on a vacation, eating pasta by the coast. And it brought me back to that moment. It helped transport me there. And food I never saw as that vessel before I had seen this film. So it's really those two things, like that theme of kind of taking the pretense away from food, especially French food, and then also really understanding, food is an expression of art, not only by the chef, but you can interpret that in many different personal ways, was really an eye-opening thing for me. Like, as I was, again, moving away from eating more disposable and processed foods and starting to branch out, be a little more adventurous, this film really helped inspire me to even start appreciating food in a different way, which sounds like you had that appreciation since growing up, but I had to kind of get that myself as I got older, and this movie in 2007 definitely helped me do that. So I'm sure you've seen Ratatouille. I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Great movie. And funny enough, this is my number 2 as well.
Oh, great. Well, why don't you talk, and then we can discuss. I want to hear what you have to say about the film, and then we can talk about it together.
Yeah. For me, I think I'll just build on kind of a lot of what you said, but my angle or way into this movie was that this movie really unlocked that activation period, like I mentioned up top, of sort of starting to take food more seriously and being more actively engaged in it. And definitely the anyone can cook motto spoke to me a lot, because like I said, I never cooked anything until my late 20s, and that's sort of when I watched this movie. But then specifically, I think what it unlocked for me was the power of flavors and combinations. There's not a week that goes by that I don't think about those scenes when the Ratatouille the rat is like, Remy the rat, sorry, is eating strawberry and cheese and herbs and having this explosion of flavors and emotion in his mind. I still think about that scene when I'm cooking, when I'm out there grocery shopping or any store that is food related. I'm always smelling things and creating some sort of combination magic in my head. And I think this movie was the unlock for me. I don't think I was thinking about food in that fashion at all. I like good food. I appreciated it, was lucky to have it in my life, but I wasn't actively engaged in it. And I think this is what this movie did for me. It totally unlocked it. Not to mention, like, this movie is just so beautifully done. Like, this is my Pixar movie. Like, for a lot of people, Toy Story or The Incredibles, which I know you love, are movies that you keep coming back to. For me, this was my Pixar movie, in a way that it's classic Pixar ingredients, no pun intended, of great animation, emotion, beautiful score, well-informed characters, great storytelling in general. So yeah, Pixar is in my rotation list of movies that I revisit wholly or in part pretty much every year.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.